I've got some early impressions here of the newest release from Guerlain in their L'Art et Métier line. It's Vetiver Fauve. Got a little decanted sample here, straight from the Guerlain counter in New York City, and I picked up 2 other samples that I'll briefly discuss as well. So, always excited for a new Guerlain release, even if recently most of them haven't really hit for me, especially in the very expensive Art et Métier range. I'm always ready to seek out what they're up to next. I was intrigued by the note of vetiver. Of course, they have the very famous, iconic Guerlain Vetiver. So I thought they would really have to do something different with vetiver to make it worth the huge markup between that vetiver and the Art et Métier prices. So I will say, on the positive side, it is very different from the Guerlain Vetiver. It goes in a totally different direction. I'll read a little bit of the inspiration. It says it was inspired by Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. So you can see where they're going with this. It says Delphine Yelk reimagines the traditionally dark and smoky ingredient, bringing it back to its origins. She brings out its wilder, fresher side. Though naturally dry, vetiver is brightened with green freshness blended with a lush tropical fruit accord, comes alive and vibrant with botanical energy. So, yes. On the plus side, again, you can maybe see where I'm going to go later with this. It is very strong. So, as usual, I've given this a full day's wear, and I have a fresh spray here on my wrist, but I'll spray again here on card. So it has a really bright, fruity opening, and what sticks out to me is there's a real sourness, a really bright sourness to that opening. And it borderlines on harsh to me. I will say the first time I sprayed it, I kind of went, oh, maybe this is going to be good. After wearing it a full day and getting acclimated to the smell, when I sprayed it again this morning, I wasn't quite as enthusiastic about that opening. To me, it doesn't read as like specifically any one fruit, but there's a real sourness, like the pith of a lemon that I get. And vetiver can go sour. I've tried many vetiver fragrances, and of course, I would say maybe the 3 prongs of vetiver that can be emphasized is, sort of a dark smokiness, something like Healy's Vetiver Veritas goes down that route. You can get sort of the more green freshness, I would say like Frederic Mall's Vetiver Extraordinaire has more of a green fresh, or of course Creed's Vetiver isn't all that vetiver-y, but it's more green and fresh. Or I've experienced this sort of sour like grassy thing in other vetivers as well. So I will also say it was really strongly reminding me of something else, and I can't figure out what. I feel like it was a smaller or indie brand that had this similar maybe sour fruits accord in the beginning, but it's one of those things where it's like on the tip of your tongue, but I can't quite pull it out. So tell me if you smell this, if it reminds you of anything, maybe it will trigger a memory. So very sour. What I don't like about this is there's a harshness to that. It's not just like realistic biting into an orange, but it has, when smelled, especially up close, kind of a like a chemical harshness, like a causticness to it that I don't enjoy. The way like lemon juice that comes in a bottle that's kind of old taste, it's like vaguely still lemon, but it also has degraded, and like all the kind of bad notes are emphasized, the sourness. I was thinking in terms of genre, it's maybe a little bit similar to Synthetic Jungle, although the smell is not the same. Because I had this hunch about the similarity with Synthetic Jungle, I gave Synthetic Jungle a wear again the other day, and I'm getting repetitive, but in case you haven't watched my other videos, what is so great about Frederic Malle fragrances is all of them just wear so beautifully. They're just calibrated for the perfect wear. So likewise, Synthetic Jungle starts with a very kind of tart, sour, green impression. But as that mellows, you get just like such a beautiful scent left on your skin that's sort of mellow but long lasting, gradually shifting into something. I always thought it's interesting that they mark patchouli in this fragrance, and while there's nothing obviously patchouli, I do get that kind of woody hum in the base. So anyway, obviously the big difference is no vetiver in this, but I just think that bright, almost neon green is what reminded me of Synthetic Jungle. Needless to say, I vastly prefer Synthetic Jungle to this Vetiver Fauve. As it dries down, you do get more sweetness. I have sort of a sweetness, and the vetiver comes out more. Obviously, vetiver is a nice base note, so it outlives a lot of those fruity top notes. But it's definitely, of the more kind of sour kind. I will say, I just don't like this smell. And a lot of the recent creations under Delphine, I suppose I just don't particularly like her style, which is fine. We don't have to like every perfumer, but I do think it's good that she has a style. I think it's a very recognizable kind of continuity in the way she works. I would say a clarity, but to me a clarity that reads as almost harshness, like a synthetic vividness rather than like a natural or smooth or elegant vividness. Because I had a similar impression as well of Neroli Plein Sud, which on paper I should love because I really am a big fan of Neroli, but there's just something really harsh that turns me off in that perfume, as well as Patchouli Paris also has a harshness. What I call sometimes like a sneezy floral is like when you smell like an old potpourri and it has some dust on it, or just like the polleny powderiness of like a really strong, but not like heady floral. I'm trying to think of those flowers with the little tiny yellow buds on them, and it just almost makes you want to sneeze. It gets up in your nose with its harshness. That's what I get here. It calms down again as the vetiver comes out, but it becomes less interesting, and it still retains that kind of sour bite to it. Again, on the positive side, I think in really hot heat and humid weather, that sourness is going to help cut through and give you longevity. But yeah, ultimately comes down to, I just don't like this smell at any price. It's very expensive, but I just don't like the smell in the end at all. It turns me off. It's harsh. It's a little caustic. It's too sour. It's not all that interesting once the top dries down, but positive marks for boldness. So I suppose that's all I can really say about it right now. I do think there's a touch of sweetness. Comes off also like, again, the fruits feel synthetic. Like, does anybody remember those things? I guess there's still a different version of it where it's basically a flavoring for a water, like a powder, so you can drink water with flavor without adding calories. It reminds me a little bit of that, because it's got like a wateryness there in the base that's coming out, almost like an aquatic, salty. It reminds me, maybe I was thinking this as well, of like a fruity cocktail, or like a margarita made with a cheap margarita mix that's very sour and not particularly fresh and limey tasting anymore. So that's my take on the new Guerlain Vetiver Fau. Really interested to see how other people feel about this, because it does have a strong personality, so I imagine it will be rather divisive. While I was there, I also got a sample of Guerlain Spirit Cask, and I'm sorry that most of the things I have to say today are going to be negative. Again, it's just a taste thing, I think. I tend to be more of a Chanel kind of person, and not that there has to be a dichotomy, but I think it's kind of fun or funny to think about the two giants, Chanel and Guerlain. They have a very different style, both of which I can appreciate, but in general, pretty much anything Chanel does speaks to me, and pretty much everything Guerlain does, especially recently, does not speak to me so much. So what I'm getting at is I've tried Habit Rouge in many different forms and versions, and I don't particularly like it. And so I also don't particularly like this. Part of it is the weather, as this is very deep and rich. It does have a very nice, realistic whiskey boozy note up top, a strong syrupy dense vanilla, but the base of Habit Rouge has something I don't like, and I'm starting to suspect it might be Guerlain's Patchouli, because I get something similar in Patchouli Paris, but it reads again as a little bit old-fashioned to me, a little bit musty. Now I love patchouli, but I think it's just this particular kind of quality of patchouli. But anyway, my problem with the base is my same problem with the other versions of Habit Rouge, so it's not particular to this. I do like this a bit more because of the richness, and that boozy top note is really, really nice. So it's really well done, just not really my style. I was a bit annoyed that the day I tested it, it was still there on my wrist after a shower. So very strong, very long lasting. They're doing apparently a tie-in with Hennessy. They're oak barrels, another LVMH. I'm neither here nor there about that. I think it's a nice smell. I think for the price, if you're looking for something rich, vanilla, ambery, boozy, and you like the Have Rouge DNA, it could be a great purchase, but not for me. I do prefer something like Spiritueuse Double Vanille, which I was always shocked at being called double vanilla, being often referred to as the reference vanilla. I was so shocked at just how quiet and restrained it is, but that's also what I like about it. I was expecting just like vanilla to the max. But Spiritueuse is quite subtle and quite restrained with those kind of like slightly woody notes in the base. And so if I'm to pick a Guerlain vanilla, well, I already did pick Queer Beluga is my favorite, but something in this more darker boozy line of thinking, I think Spiritueuse Double Vanille I would prefer. But this is very nice. It's just a me kind of taste thing that I don't quite like about it. And lastly, a sample of something I would never own. Luckily, I don't want to. It's one of their special bottles, exceptional. Let's see what they say here. So it's called Amore Celeste, and it comes in a fancy decorative bottle. The sprayer is working really strangely, I'm sorry. But I got a sample of the juice here. I'll give you a quick pic of the bottle so you can see this. So here, very fancy bottle, $880. Guerlain does this from time to time, these special releases for special events or holidays, usually working with a particular artisan, so they tell you all about that. They say this is about the Chinese Lunar Valentine's Day. Lucie Touré, a French artist, combines needlepoint and paper cutting. So a lot of handicraft going into the bottle, but let's just talk about the perfume. To me, this is just a shampoo floral. I know this kind of thing is all about the bottle and about collectors, but I would be mad if I spent $880 for a beautiful bottle and what's in it smelled like herbal essence. So on the website, they say about it, Delphine Yelk, blah, 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 creator of Amore Celeste, an olfactory symphony where the romanticism of flowers meets the dazzling freshness of citrus. Subtle and refined, the fragrance opens with a luminous prelude of bergamot and orange, then reveals a floral heart with osmanthus. With its fruity, leathery facets, combines the intensity of sambac, jasmine, and honeyed nuance of rose. So yeah, it's a very fresh, fruity floral, and that's basically it. It's smooth. It does smell refined, but it really just smells like a floral shampoo. It doesn't smell, to me, all that elevated. I don't get any leathery osmanthus. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about it. Just fresh, fruity, floral shampoo smell in an $880 bottle. So kind of ridiculous. I did want to make some kind of overall thoughts on the recent releases. Just for my taste, is there anything I've liked that's come out? So I have bought Guerlain Vetiver, and I like it, but it also does that kind of, they just started putting honey in a lot of things to kind of make this tie-in to the Guerlain B. And I bought the EDT, which is the least honeyed, but the more I wear it, the more the honey in there starts to bother me too. I do actually like Pêche Mirage just for being kind of an interesting peach fragrance, it's like something you never thought you needed. But for the price, I don't think I would pay it. I kind of really truly dislike the smell of this Guerlain Vetiver. It's just so harsh. It's getting more sour, more synthetic. I almost thought maybe it was the DS and Durga. They have a vetiver, not cowboy grass, which I actually have, but they have another vetiver which is supposed to be a little bit tropical. It might be reminding me of that one, but I like that one better because it's less sour and caustic. So I don't know. I suppose, as I said, she has a style. So if you like that style, maybe all of these are just like hit after hit after hit. To the perfumistas, I haven't seen many people overly enthused by the releases coming out of the L'Art et Métier collection. Basically, all the ones I like were kind of done during those kind of in-between years where they had various perfumers contributing to the L'Art et Métier line and not the head perfumer. So I suppose that's all I have to say. 3 swings and 3 misses as far as I'm concerned with these 3 new Guerlain releases.